Hello and welcome to the webinar on how to enrich relationship, where I would like to share with you 6 simple steps on how to have enriched relationship with your partner. I hope it is your intimate partner, and that is the enriching uh, program for our couple or relationships between a man and a woman, between a man and a man, or a woman and a woman. So, before we start, I would like to introduce myself for those who don't know me. My name is Darya Haitoglou. I originally come from Russia, from Siberia, but married to a Greek, hence the surname. And we lived most of our time together in Geneva, in Switzerland, where we had 2 boys born, and now we live in the UK. So you can hear probably different accents, the way how I speak English, but I'm a psychologist and a relationship coach. And my story with the relationship started almost 20 years ago when I decided to study international relations as bachelor and then continued with masters. I went to the UK and studied masters in the Cambridge University, entered the corporate world and worked for 8 years in a big multinational company across marketing, human resources, talent supply, and it was in London office and also in Geneva in Switzerland. And throughout that journey, I've collected different insights based on my personal experience of having different relationships and also observing and noticing different patterns in relationships of other people. So as I started in business and organizational environment, that was a different lens. And as I moved through the career and progressed and in different parts, looking at relationship with customers, with consumers, relationship between peers inside a corporation, I had this insight that it's impossible to enrich relationship at work or office environment without actually enriching relationship on a deeper level, the family of origin, relationship with our parents, relationship with ourselves and our partner. So our journey of relationship has led me to the professional change into psychology and becoming a relationship coach after I was already a business coach inside a corporation. But that journey is a beautiful one, and I really feel proud, and I welcome everyone to join this mission that I have, which is help 1 billion people create more love-rich and blame-free families and individuals. And it's really inspiring for me to look into the happy examples, the successful examples for people who have already gone through challenges and experienced joy, satisfaction, contentment, and happiness in their relationships. So what I did when my corporate career has stemmed out into the individual entrepreneurial world, I have worked with different families, couples, and individuals and conducted a study to look into what are the steps, what are the strategies they're using that define their relationship and help them enrich it. So I studied and worked with great masters in different fields of positive psychology, family constellation, family reconstruction, neuroscience, NLP, becoming a different level of either practitioner or master or trainer, and collecting all that knowledge, information into something that happened later on to be in a book, and I will tell you a little bit more about the book soon. But definitely this mission is something that I have a calling for. So without further ado, I would like to jump into some of the background of why there is a need and why you are here and why this webinar can help you enrich your relationships. So first of all, let's look at reality around us. Our brain is overloaded with different messages, information that's around us. The speed of progress in the world has accelerated so that we sometimes feel overwhelmed. There's so many conflicting priorities, roles. We live in cities rather than villages like we used to, where we now want to have one relationship for life with a partner who we want to be our lover, our um, partner for our projects, our dad or mother for our children, our confidant, which is a person who is our close one. And of course, we want to have fun. We want to have an engaging, interesting life with that person. Now, that is a very challenging situation to be in. We used to live in villages, and it would take a village to bring up a family, a couple. Now we live in cities, in concrete boxes of apartment blocks, and separated from our family of origin primarily. And we demand that from ourselves as well as from our partner to satisfy the needs that we have, that inner child need, that a man or a woman need, that we all have inside us. So of course, no wonder that this amount of triggers, information, overloading our brain so that we feel stressed. And that stress drives out our relationship, mainly with ourselves and with our intimate partner. So when we look at where we want to be, of course we see this wonderful image of having a passionate relationship with our partner, like it used to be when maybe before kids, or if you don't have kids yet, maybe that's how you experience in sometimes your relationship, but not always. A lot of the time when a couple is going through a long-term relationship, they experience conflicts. So the reality of where we are generally is quite different to what we want to be. And we experience and see and feel much more disconnect, and a lot of fights, and a lot of sadness, a lot of anger, a lot of fear. And if you were to look at, the main sort of, role and the problem in itself, is that position of a grumpy demander, is the position of a person who is focusing on the other person to receive that attention rather than giving the love and giving the support themselves. And another role that people sometimes take is of a reactive agent. When the stressful events happen, and instead of welcoming and looking through the challenges, people start reacting, protecting themselves, either fighting or flighting or freezing. We know it from the neuroscience, the way how we react to stress is most of the time protecting and coping mechanisms. So how does it resonate with you guys? If you were one of a typical couple, that would be up and down of every relationship, day, week, month, or a year. So what we've done is we've looked into different strategies, what happy and successful families do, different to how unhappy and not successful families do. And that turned into a book, which is called Enrich Your Relationships, 10 Secrets to Rekindle Your Intimate Life, and is based on the system that I've synthesized and created. It's called Enriching system. And every letter from the word enrich stands for a certain concept, and that's what we're going to go through in brief today. So you can experience that and learn what it is really that helps happy families be happy. Now, it looks like this book is so thick and large, but actually it's just an image. In reality, this book is very thin, and I wanted to make it really practical, and it's a beginner guide. The advanced guide is happening as we speak. It's been written, and the main starting point, if you really want to look into it, is Amazon. You can get this book on Amazon easily, and it's on US and UK Amazon. And it's a very easy read. It has very practical exercises for you to learn how to enrich relationship with your partner. But let's go through this journey now so you can have a taster of what it means and what this whole system and concept has. So the first letter, E, stands for explore. Explore versus routine. Now, this is the first step that you would take in order to enrich your relationship. And why is that important? Because exploration in itself has an underpinning biochemistry that is led by dopamine, the hormone that drives inquisitivity, risk-taking, interest in events, and allows the boundaries to be pushed so that we can accommodate that foreign element that would a little bit shake the system. Because routine, let's face it, routine helps us to establish certain way of living, and in majority of families when we have kids, routine is needed to discipline, educate, bring up, and create those rules and healthy boundaries for the family to be. Now, once we pass that stage, and majority of the issues happen when actually parents and couples have children, but they would like to enrich their relationship between themselves. So routine is the very thing that actually breaks that intimacy and does not allow the passion to be there. So the first thing we want to do is to have that exploration journey. So one of the practical exercises that I'm offering in the book is to tune in to your partner's breathing. And it is a very simple but profound technique to try when you're next to your partner. And you can observe the movements of your partner's shoulders, or the chest, or the tonality of the voice, or the pauses. But as soon as you tune in, even if you're in a stressed situation, the mere tuning in to your partner's breathing has a soothing effect for your parasympathetic system to be kicked in, so you can feel relaxed, you can feel calm, you can feel empathetic and open, and exploring that depth of connection between you two can have that profound effect of having an enriched feeling. So the first step is like that element, the foreign element that creates a little bit of a chaotic exploration, but it leads to growth. We know that personal crises and challenges, they lead to personal success and they lead to happiness. And relationship themselves, they account for the majority of happiness in families. We know from the Harvard Grant study, the research that's been for 75 years done, probably the longest in the history of psychology, tells us that the main outcome and the main reason why people feel happy is because of their enriched relationships. So you are in the right place if you are on the journey to enrich your relationship with yourself and others. So exploration of the breathing, that is one of the ways how to enrich relationships. There are many more, and we can discover them, especially when people say to me, well, I've tried the breathing, or I've tried communication, I've tried different ways to connect with my partner, and I can't. So then we look at the systemic lens, we look at the constellations, and we look at family dynamics, where the person is coming from. Because the likelihood that the issues are coming from the generations before that person is very high. So instead of dealing with individual issue of a person in question, we look at the whole system and bring that perspective in. And then exploring that bit, connecting the dots between generations and finding who was that person who would be approving this type of behavior for the person in question. Who would this person be connected to the most to have that loyalty to exhibit that behavior? And by defining those connections and reconstructing the loyalty and the consciousness of the system, we can change the way how relationships are wired, and we can change the behavior, and we can change the way how we feel about them. Let me give a sip of water. So moving on. The next step is enrich. The word enrich, the letter N stands for nourish. Nourish versus deplete. Now that is very important step. I would say my favorite, because this is where magic happens. You know, most people, they long for feeling nourished. They long for feeling seen, heard, touched. As Virginia Satir said, the best present you can give to a person is to see them, to hear them, and to touch them. And the best present someone can give to you is to see you, to hear you, to touch you. Because the presence, or being in the present moment and nourishing and validating the other person is that loving, unconditional energy that we've been longing since we were very little. And by giving that nourishing feeling and energy to our partner, it is a boomerang effect. It can come back to us multiple times. So how do we nourish ourselves, and how do we nourish our partner? And also, if we can look at a systemic way, how do we nourish our system? So the first thing we do, we appreciate who we are. We raise our self-esteem, we raise our confidence to the level where we see ourselves the way we are, and we like that. Now, it's easier said than done, and there are many techniques, and I'm happy to share with you. So please get in touch with me by sending an email or a note to info@daryahaitoglou.com, and I can even put that in a chat box, info@daryahaitoglou.com, and I would be very happy to connect with you and answer your questions. So, nourishing exercise that I would like to share with you today is a very simple one, but again, it has very strong positive consequences. So when you imagine or you see your partner and you look into their eyes, and whatever they bring as an information, you just look in their eyes and you paraphrase what they've said in a way that doesn't bring any judgment in, doesn't add anything from your side. You just validate what they've said. And with your whole body inside you, you agree with that. So if they come and say, look, I feel tired, you look into their eyes and you say, you look tired. If they come and say, I have a headache, you just validate what they said. You have a headache. You have a headache and you feel bad. So that allows for a nourishing feeling to be seen, to be heard, to be there. And that creates a container for your communication, for your relationships to be enriched. So if you want to add to that an additional twist, just when you have a moment, you can look into your partner's eye and you say, I see you. And deeply look into his eyes as though you're looking through them into the core of their being, into their self, into their soul. And if you want, you can take their hands or just smile and be there for them. Because nourishment for different people means different things. Is that like that love language? It could be touch, it could be words of appreciation, it could be act of service, it could be just mere presence and quality of time, or it could be a gift. So as you're preparing to nourish your partner, you can think of what type of language of love they speaking and tune into that language with your nourishing energy for them. We say in family constellations and reconstruction work, both Virginia Satir and Bert Hellinger, actually Bert Hellinger stemmed his work on some of the underpinnings of Virginia Satir, who's known as a grandmother of family therapy. And we know from that deep work is that there are certain fundamentals and principles, the way how systems and relationship operate. And one of them is on the basis of exchange of energy, exchange of balanced gifts. Yeah, if one person gives, the other receives, or if one person contributes into the relationship financially or emotionally or mentally so much, the other person would feel in need to reciprocate. So it's very important to have that balance and to nurture and to add to something that is already loving, to add more so the love increases. But if something is hurting in the relationship, that people, for example, a couple is arguing, then if one person says something very hurtful, the other person can help by diminishing the effect and balancing with a little bit less of the negative energy, so that the negative imbalance decreases. So if there is a negative behavior or a negative phrase, the other person feels in balance to bring back that energy, negative energy. The only thing we can do is to reduce that amount of energy so that we can give back, but less. So the next third step, after we've explored, after we've nourished, we want to learn how to respond to those stressful triggers that happen in our life. And generally, we just want to react. We want to fight. We want to withdraw. We want to pretend we're not there. We're invisible. But the best thing what we can do to enrich our relationship is to learn how to respond. And by responding, I mean holding what's there, what it is, and not taking it personally as an accusation or as someone's out to get me, but just responding to that hurt, to that pain, to that difficult feeling or difficult situation that person finds themselves in. And it takes practice. So, for example, non-judgmental appreciation or validation of what person is going through, responding in a way that would be emotionally intelligent. Again, it's easier said than done. And one of the examples that I would like to share with you to practice the skill of responding is the work of Marshall Rosenberg on nonviolent communication. And I really appreciate what he's done, and I use that a lot. So normally what happens, the way how we react to events, when we don't like certain things, we would just go for it. We would say something that we don't like. And that creates a feeling of judgment in the other person. And of course, when the other person feels judged, there is a felt imbalance, and they try to judge back or fight back, respond something in a way, or withdraw, retreat, because they feel that imbalance of energy. So instead of reacting, Marshall Rosenberg, who created the Center for Nonviolent Communication, proposes this exercise. You first look at facts, factual events that you can observe and you can bring as a discussion point. For example, if a person is late for a meeting and you feel you feel angry or frustrated, and you just want to tell them that they shouldn't be late, they should respect you, your time is valuable, or why didn't they apologize? And you're already judging inside your head. So that is reacting. Moving into responding, the first thing you can say, look, when someone is late, I feel, that's the second part, I feel disrespected. And my desire, or what I want deeply, is I want to feel respected. How about you tell me, if you are going to be late, just tell me that this might happen, so I can preempt that feeling to be managed inside me. So what it is, you see, I've already talked about the facts. The facts is that the person is late. So I bring it without judging. So when people are late, I feel disrespected, or I feel lonely, or I feel unloved. Because it's my feelings, it's very hard to judge. It is just my feelings. It's not something in relation to you. It's just generally how I feel. Then my deeper yearning, my deeper longing, I share. I want to be respected. This is my deeper need. And a suggestion. I suggest, if you are going to be late, you just let me know. So that simple structure of responding without judging can help you enrich your relationships for better. Okay, so the fourth step is about imagining. So we talked about exploring, nourishing, responding, and now imagining. Imagination is much more powerful than will. Sometimes people say, I'm so consistent and I'm just going for it. I want to do it, and I set a goal, and then I'm going, and then I just stop. I deviate. I don't reach my goal. I don't understand why. Now, willpower is very helpful in other circumstances, but for enriching relationship, it's a very delicate matter. And the best strategies we've seen in research, in psychology, is by manifesting it, by preventing it, by using our imagination, the right part of our brain, to create scenario that is beneficial or desired for us. There was a study of different basketball teams, and they split the team into three parts. One part practiced the free throws. The second part of that team sat and just imagining hitting that net, hitting them with the ball every time. And the third part just did nothing. And they discovered that the second team, who just imagined, did slightly better than the first team, which played. Because when people played, they sometimes succeeded, sometimes they didn't. Whereas the middle team always had that ball throwing and hitting the net. So they raised their, not just awareness, but they wire the neurons for success, as they say. And we want that also for your relationship as a preventative tool rather than remedy, because cure is like surgery. It's much better to prevent by eating healthy nutrition and taking some vitamins rather than going into already an abscess and having surgery done. And that's when most of couples go to therapy and counseling and psychiatrists, where it's already so painful, so hurtful, and they could have done it so much earlier in their relationship. So that's what I would like to share with you. One of the simple imaginary tools that you can use to enrich your relationships is an exercise of affirmations. You probably have heard, Louisa Hayes is great, that she has created the whole Hay House based on her book, Heal Your Body, Heal Your Life. And she has done some incredible work on manifestations and affirmations. So imagining positive outcome for something that you want to have, for example, your relationship. Imagining in details, with sensations, with words, with tactile, how it would be for you to have that ideal relationship with your partner. And only in positive thoughts. Don't allow the negative thoughts, because the way how you imagine influences the way how you experience it. Because if I asked you, imagine squeezing yellow lemon and drinking the juice of that lemon inside your mouth, you already automatically would have the saliva been produced, because the neurons, they are wired to perceive what you imagine as reality. It has almost the same effect. Okay, same part in our brain is responsible for imaginary events and the actual events, by the way, in the past, in the future, and in the present. So it does not matter if you remember something in the past, or creating an imagination in the future, or living it through what you're living. So if you use your imagination as a negative tool, of course, that will lead to negative outcome. But if you use the imagination to your positive affirmations and creating the rapport, creating this ideal image, maybe put a collage on your wall of your ideal relationship, what it includes, what type of facets, what type of places you want to go, how you want to feel, what type of partnership that means for you. And sharing this imaginary world with your partner can also lead to a better enriched relationship. And that leads us to the fifth step, which is all about communicating versus assuming. Now, assumption is a very difficult concept, because when we assume, we start demanding things the way we think, and generally they're based on our history and our background. And assumption, as someone said to me, is the mother of all fuck-ups. So sorry for my French, but it's so true that sometimes we assume what the other person thinks based on our own map of the world, of our own identity, of our own experience. And we all come from different families, different systems, different backgrounds. And when I work with clients, it's amazing how even people from the same culture, coming from just slightly different families, have the same have completely different systems of thinking, right? So communicating and having that open dialogue and expressing their needs, talking about not just the tip of an iceberg, about their actions and what happened, but really below the waterline, all the depths of beliefs, values, and the most important are yearnings. What are the longings that person is looking for, the needs deep, the needs of the soul that we're looking for, and talking about those and creating a communication around them, like I shared with you, the Marshall Rosenberg responded communication, but also communicating in a way that would allow you to communicate how you feel. So, for example, one of the tools that I use with both children and my partner is the traffic light theory that I've come up with, which was very fun, because I didn't know at what point my partner was in a good mood versus a bad mood. Sometimes I miscalculated. The same for my children. So I said to them, why don't we use this traffic light as an example to say, if I'm in a good mood, I can say I'm in green zone. If I'm in a sort of irritative mood and I'm getting annoyed, I would say I'm in a yellow zone. And when I'm really angry or really fuming but I'm not showing, I can still communicate, I'm in a red zone, please help me. And when I say that, I say, let's hug, let's do something. What does it take? What do you need to move to a green zone? And that is a communication that allows people to enrich the relationship further. And finally, we're moving into the sixth step, which is all about hugs and humor versus withdrawal. When we withdraw is because we are not feeling ourselves, when we're not feeling confident, we're not feeling that we can help, when we are feeling hurt and not understood. So instead of feeling that hurt, let's move into openness and having that attitude of hugging and humor. And the way how we do that is by helping our left brain to understand the benefits of hugs. We know that hugs create a different biochemistry inside our body, allowing the oxytocin to flood. And the oxytocin hormone allows us to feel trust, to care for the other person, to feel connected. So the more we hug, the better we feel. And also that hugging act boosts our immune system and helps us fight germs and bacteria. I mean, this is an amazing and free tool that we can use anytime we go, even hugging ourselves, even actually creating that wonderful stretching experience of and nurturing and fun experience of having hugs as much as we can. And laughing is just taking and elevating the problem to a different level where you can solve it because it's not serious anymore. So think about, in 5 and 10 years time, you could look back and laugh about it. And that brings humor and brings joyfulness and light to the relationship. So instead of having a difficult discussion, just pause for a moment, go and maybe have a walk, come back and have a laugh about it. So I just wanted to share this six steps that help people, including couples who have bigger issues, have loyalty issues, who have trust issues. This structure we also use at the constellations and on the personal level and the couple level. So if you're interested, you can always go back to the book and download it or buy it on Amazon and have a go and read it. So again, we've just gone through the Enrich system: explore, nourish, respond, imagine, communicate, hug, and humor. Hope you find it helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know by writing to info@daryahaitoglou.com. Also, if you like what you just heard, please sign up for my blog on www.daryahaitoglou.com, where I share useful tips on how to enrich relationships. I also blog on Huffington Post, and once you sign up on daryahaitoglou.com, I will share with you the posts that I write on HuffPost. If you're not already a member, please join a group on Facebook, Psychology of Human Enrichment. It's a community of like-minded people where we share enriching news for relationships and just generally for life. And it would be great to have you and also have you as a contributor and to learn from other people who have probably similar journey, who are on a similar journey like we all are.